Hello, this is my supplemental video to stressing me out. So when the sympathetic nervous system activates and the adrenal medulla secretes a hormone called adrenaline, adrenaline regulates our body's response to stress by triggering an emotional response called the fight or flight response. This is an emotional response to stress that prepares the body for self-preservation by fleeing the situation or defending itself. The body's release of adrenaline leads to the arousal of the sympathetic nervous system and reduced activity in the parasympathetic nervous system. And as far as physical changes that are associated with the fight or flight response, can be increased levels of arousal related to HPA, or the elevated levels of cortisol can cause health issues. The sympathetic nervous system can accelerate the heart rate, widen bronchial passages, decrease motility of the large intestine, constrict blood vessels, increase peristalsis in the esophagus, cause pulmonary dilation, goosebumps and perspiration, and raise blood pressure. As far as the role of the HPA axis and hormones in the stress response, the HPA axis role in the stress response is the interaction between the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the adrenal glands. The HPA axis releases the ACTH hormone, which directs the adrenal glands to secrete other hormones like adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol. Hormones like cortisol increase glucose in the bloodstream. It also enhances the brain's usage of glucose and increases the availability of substances that repair tissues. Cortisol also restricts functions that would be damaging in the fight or flight response. So it can limit or curb anything that would keep the body from doing what it needs to do and fully reacting in that fight or flight response. The GAS is the term coined by physiologist Hans Sale that refers to the 3 stages of physiological change that the body and mind experience in response to long-term stress. The 3 stages are alarm, which is the body's initial reaction that releases stress hormones like cortisol. The second stage is resistance, in which the body returns to its normal state as if it's no longer in shock from the trauma or stress, but internal changes are still visible, like the increase of blood pressure and glucose levels. And the last stage is exhaustion, in which the body decompresses from being on alert and storing energy in the second stage, and now it is exhausted and depleted, which can cause illness and possible death. During long-term stress, the HPA axis remains active, and the increased levels of cortisol in the body can lead to fatigue and depression, and the weakening of our immune system, making us more susceptible to colds and other illnesses. And I've experienced that myself. When I'm going through stress, I feel like I get sick not only more often, but more easily. So I can speak to that happening to me personally. The heart pumps more blood during stress and at the same time causes arterial constriction. So the combination of increased levels of cortisol, which can lead to a buildup of plaque on the arterial wall, arterial restriction, and more blood pumping to the heart can cause damage to the heart muscle, which can cause a heart attack. And men usually respond to stress using the flight or fight, which is a behavioral response that I spoke of earlier that increases the body's readiness for action, and women respond with tend and befriend. This is a behavioral reaction that involves in an increase of social interaction and building a network that protects and comforts. The response in women is initiated by the release of the hormone oxytocin. According to research, the tend and befriend reaction can be healthier because it does not increase the levels of arousal that are related to HPA or the elevated levels of cortisol that can cause some of those detrimental issues, those physical health issues. And some people feel like this also may explain why women live a little longer than men. On average, we don't die from heart failure or heart disease as often as men do. And then there's like some even deeper correlations in this. I found like I think that women tend to possibly cheat emotionally or even physically when they're in a stress situation. You always hear a lot of women say, you know, there's issues in the relationship, and instead of kind of like fighting or you know, fighting for the relationship or whatever, women tend to like have friends or find a friend in another man or something like that. So it's very interesting that like biologically we just do things differently as men and women, and it's all very like scientific. But if you're not aware of it, you feel like, you know, oh, this is just emotion or it's person to person. But it's just very interesting to learn about a lot of these physiological changes that have to do with stress, and now be aware of them, and try my best personally to avoid them. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to the feedback. Thank you very much. Bye bye.